Okay, I think it's 2 days after I honed that thing, the cylinders, and I got the other side done, got it finished, and I got them coated with oil right now. But geez, that seems to have, I put some more oil on there, that seems to have dried up pretty quickly. This side only took me about an hour to do. That side was like 2 hours. So I kept checking it. Kept checking every couple of minutes just to make sure I didn't go too far or get it out of round. This one went a lot quicker. Now I used the fine stones for the whole bore because the coarse stones that Peter gave me there were worn out, and I cranked them all the way out in adjustment to get them to work, and they wouldn't even touch because the scrapers were holding the stones out from the wall. So these were all done with a fine stone right straight through. This one I got within a half a thou from top to bottom. This one I got it perfect on the top and the bottom, but near the bottom, 2/3 the way down, I got it starts to come out about a quarter of a thou or half a thou. But I think it's below the rings, just below the ring, so that'll be fine. And yeah, I couldn't, because I kept flipping it over back and forth, taking the tops and bottom and a little bit in the middle there, 2/3 the way down. It was getting, I got a little bit of a high spot in the middle for some reason. Just don't want these to rust. Cold and damp. And my parts are in. They were in the United States at my mailbox. I must have shipped them to the wrong address. I got my tank piece. Got my rings. So I can start on that. This is what I need to gap my rings. Piston ring gapping grinder. There's different types. Look pretty simple to me. There's an electric one, $244, but it's just really a stone wheel that you crank over slowly and grind into the rings. And I see some of them are 80 grit, some of them are 120 grit. I think 80 is a little bit too coarse. 120, 180 should do, so I'm going to try to make one of those. And I only have 4 rings to do, so let's see if I can make something in my garage that'll work like that. Okay, gonna measure the ring end gap and see if I have to grind them down. These are original Heplite piston rings, second over. And on each pack it shows you what's in there. This is for the lower ring, the oil rings, and these are a 1-piece ring. Well, 2-piece ring. They got these little spacer in between. Don't need those. And then there's the top ring. And then there's the second ring. We'll start with the top ring. Yeah, I think these, you can see it's a kind of a chrome finish here. This has got a chrome moly finish on the top ring to withstand the heat. The top ring is going to get the most heat, expand the most, and that's why the clearances are a little bigger. And the top ring is, I believe, 10 to 12 thou, the gap. And then the second ring is 8 to 10 thou in that range. So, and the ring's got a little mark. You can see that on there or not. Marks the top, that's up. And let's see if you can see on the camera here. I can go it this way here. And we'll just put that in there, like that. Then we'll use the piston to push it down about 3/4 of an inch. nice and square. So let's see if I can get in a 7th thou. Maybe if I turn it this way, you can see. You can see the gap right there's the gap. Just a fine gap. Yeah, my hand's gonna block it. Well, just get it done. Come on. Yeah, that's 7th thou. That's tight. Try 5th thou. 5th thou fits in easy. 6th thou. Rope. Get out of here. Break something here. 6th thou. Yeah, it's 6th thou snug. So it's right at 6th thou. So I've got to grind down this ring gap a little bit, and I could do it with a file, clamp a file in the vise, and then push this. Whenever you got a chrome moly finish on it, you want to only file in one direction, in. If I file out, I could chip off that chrome moly, so you want to only file in. So I could clamp a fine file in the vise and then just give it a bunch of strokes like that. Hey, there's my initial there, B. Don't know why that's there. But I'd rather kind of make up a ring grinding tool, because I'm probably going to use these cylinders on the rat rod I'm going to build, and have to do the same thing. But I only got four rings to grind down. That's the second ring. I'm not going to get into that. So here's what I was thinking. Here's what I was thinking. I think a lot. I got this old tool here from my grandfather. Come on, how come this thing doesn't turn? Like that. I got this old grinding wheel. I was thinking about this last night. I need to make something up. I'm just going to take this big fat stone off and put on a little skinny stone. And I've got one here somewhere. I can't find it. It'll show up. Or like a cutting stone like this. But I've got a real fine skinny stone that I think will work on here. And then I'll build a deck and a couple pins to hold the ring aligned. And then I can just clamp and grind this. I think I can make this thing work. Take this off, make a bracket. Save 50-60 bucks US, make my own. This would be a handy little tool. So I'm gonna look for the stone. I'm missing the stone for this. I'm gonna shut you off here. You got trouble out here tonight with me? No, you're not going outside. She's pouring rain out. Raining out. I'm looking everywhere. I know I got this stone. I've had it for 20-30 years, never used it. It's about that big around. It's white. It's a white stone, so I know it's fine. You know, it's going to probably be 200 or 300 grit, maybe 300. I'm looking everywhere. Oh, unless it's in one of these things. Picture it in my mind what it looks like. I think it'd be perfect for this thing. I think it'll bolt right on there. Maybe just a couple spacers. That's all the sandpaper in there. You know, even one of these would work. Rough. I gotta keep looking. I gotta find that stone to get this made, so I'm gonna keep looking. Snowing today. Still plus a couple degrees. But winter's here. I'm still trying to find that grinding stone. It's the next day. And I'm going to get it all set up, and if I can't find one, then I know a buddy of mine, he's got some they're skate sharpening stones, or chainsaw sharpening stones, that are exactly what I need. But I'll get this all set up. That's what I'm going to do right now. This stone hasn't been off here in at least 50 years, 55 years, because that's how long I've seen it on here for. It's got a little bushing in there. Just gotta find my stone. It's here somewhere. I think I'm just gonna make one. I got some 400 grit paper. I think it'll work. Improvise, whatever you can do. Took that crazy dog for a walk. ran the whole way there, ran the whole way back. Now I just got to stick that onto there, make a spacer. I got some two-way tape or maybe a little bit of gasket stuff, but I'll figure that out next. Try this. Oh, fuck. Oh, not good. Trying to keep it off my fingers. My hands are sticky. Alright, let that sit up. Get this ring tool going here yet. A little bit more. Found a piece of pipe, making a spacer. Going there. All these old tools that my grandfather's here, and this thing, I use them almost every day. Put that on there. That's 400 grit, so hopefully that'll work. Okay, let me just let that dry. Getting closer. Not sure what this is. This is a tool. It's a lock for a saw or something, I believe. But that hole's already there. So I drilled a hole in here. This will make a nice deck for the ring. And to hold the ring on. My screw. Get lucky and have the right wrench out. 7/16. Okay, let's see how this is going to work. That's how I like it, right about there. This is coming down. Where did I just put the 7/16? Hopefully that's tight enough. Yeah, too tight. Here's an old ring. This is what I'm trying to do. And you want to cut it nice and square too. You don't want to cut this on an angle. You want that flush to the stone. Which I'm going to need more light. Hope this is an old ring. Yeah, pretty sure it is. You can see how it's polished up the end there compared to this end. Let's try it. Can't hurt. Okay, let me get set up. Okay, I'm going to try it here. Get the light on. Make this as square as possible. You can tell by it, like it's polished across the whole surface, not the corner, not half of it, not part of it. And then there's the side that's untouched, it's just black still. So it is taking something off. And then before I put this back in the cylinder, on the polished side, I want to take some fine sandpaper, make sure there's no burrs on it, and so it doesn't scratch the cylinder on the way in. I'm going to do that and get back to you. Got the top ring done on the left cylinder, and you don't have to touch this very much, just a few strokes, but I was just taking off a little bit of time, so I just put a little bit of pressure into this 400 grit sandpaper, and then that did it. A couple turns and it'll take off like 2 thou at a time, so got to be really careful. So I'm starting on the other side. This one's a little tighter. The other one I started out, I think, about around 5 or 6 thou clearance, and this one here is just like 2 or 3, so I can take a fair bit off this one, but I'm really trying to make sure I get it on there square. And it, it's cutting the whole side, so I got a flashlight on here, I got the whole works on here. I gotta turn this whole thing over like that. Where'd my sandpaper go? Yeah, you just want to make sure you don't have any burrs on the edge, so you just get a little scuff. There won't be any on the outside like where the chromoly is, because I'm going into it. Maybe if I move this over here, yeah. Move over a little closer. Kind of a messy worker. Work gets done when I'm messy. There's a 6. I think I started at like 3 or 4. Yeah, 7 is snug, so I gotta take a little more off. I don't have my flashlight pointing there now. There we go, right there. If you stay there, beauties. See, the wheel's turning into it this way, so it's not going to damage that chromoly. What some people do is they'll put that bottom ring on so that it sits perfectly level, right at that level there, but Main thing is that it's flush right across the top of those rings there. More yet. Luckily I'm not doing a V8. Getting there now. Wow, there's 9. Yeah, that's 11. I can't get the 11 in. And here's the 10. Slides right through. I'm going to check it at a different level. Go down a little farther. That's a tight 10 there, so I see the 9. Yeah, the 9 goes through good. Pull it up to the top again. Easy 9. It's a snug 10. I'm going to take a little bit more off. I'd rather be a little on the looser side than tight side. Not much though. That should do it. Just a little chamfer, not much. That's 10. Yeah, I think I could take a little more off, just to be safe. Yeah, I'm going to take a little more off. Well, you got the procedure. I'm going to shut you down until I get this done. I wasn't going to check the oil rings. They don't even give you a spec for the oil rings. But I just took it off and put it in the cylinder there. It was so tight that like these were hitting each other and binding up. I couldn't even get a feeler gauge in there, 0. But I think I'm going to set it at 6 thou. You know, it looks like it's dropping 2 thou for the second ring. So for the oil ring, I'll drop another 2 thou to 6 thou clearance. It should run a lot cooler, you know, at the bottom of the cylinder and in the oil. So I'm going to set them at 6 thou. There's no spec for that, but I can't put them in the way it is. It's just tight. They're hitting like that. They're binding already. So I'm just going to check this one. I already did the left cylinder, and I'm going to do the right cylinder. See how tight this one is. Yeah, see, I can't even. They're binding so tight, I can't even get the ring to go level. Yeah, they're just way too tight. I can only get the ring to go on an angle about like that because they're hitting. So I got to take off like 5/6 thou. I like to look on the face of it here, make sure the whole thing is shiny and I don't get any dark spots or I'm not getting it square. Try that. Check your oil rings. These are stock Hepalite ones, and they would have been way too tight. Would have broke a ring. At least now it'll go in. It'll go in square now. Let's see if a 5 thou will go in there. Yeah, it's a tight 5 thou, so I know 6 thou won't go. Yeah, just a little bit more. I'm putting pressure on it this way. Lots of screwing around, but good to get it done right. And it's still too tight. Too tight for 6 thou. Just a little too tight. My paper is getting kind of polished there. Not much grit left. More yet. Still a tight 6. That's 6 there. That's 6 there. Maybe that's it. Oh yeah, that's 6. See if it's 7 will go in there. pretty tight 7, I think. Yeah. No, that's good. Okay, rings are all set. I'm not going to put this together today, so that's going to be it for today.